Welcome to Heart Story, where every stitch tells a story of compassion and hope through emotional storytelling. Mrs. Grace, an 82-year-old grandmother, spent her days sewing quilts for a local homeless shelter. Each quilt carried warmth, love, and unspoken stories sewn into every patch. Unbeknownst to her, one quilt would soon play a vital role in saving the life of her own nephew during a harsh winter. This is a tale of love, sacrifice, and the unexpected ways kindness returns, reminding us of the deep connections that bind family and community. Join us as we unfold this heartfelt journey. Mrs. Grace carefully selected fabrics, each with a history, stitching memories into every quilt she crafted. Her hands moved with practiced grace, weaving warmth for strangers who needed it most. The homeless shelter relied on her generous gifts, distributing quilts to those battling the brutal winter nights. Meanwhile, her nephew, David, struggled with hardships of his own, unaware of the love being stitched into a quilt miles away. One particularly harsh winter, David found himself facing the biting cold without proper shelter or warmth. When a volunteer handed him one of Mrs. Grace's quilts, it was more than fabric, it was a lifeline woven from years of love and hope. This unexpected connection through emotional storytelling would soon reveal the powerful bond between family, kindness, and survival. Their intertwined stories were about to unfold. As David wrapped himself in the quilt, memories of his aunt's loving hands stitching it filled his mind. The warmth wasn't just physical, it was a reminder of family and hope. That night, the quilt shielded him from freezing temperatures, giving him the strength to seek help and shelter. Back at her home, Mrs. Grace prayed quietly, unaware of how her quilt was making a difference so close to her heart. The shelter's staff noticed David's resilience and warmth, tracing the quilt back to Mrs. Grace's dedicated work. When David finally reunited with his aunt, the emotional storytelling between them bridged the distance of years and hardships. This reunion was a testament to the profound impact of love woven into every stitch, a legacy that saved a life and rekindled family bonds. Their story was just beginning, stitched together by compassion and hope. After David's rescue, Mrs. Grace's quilts gained renewed attention within the community. Volunteers and donors rallied to support her mission, recognizing the life-saving power sewn into each patch. Mrs. Grace began organizing quilting circles, where neighbors gathered to create quilts together, sharing stories and laughter. These gatherings became more than crafting sessions, they evolved into emotional storytelling hubs, where healing and connection blossomed. David, now recovering, joined the group, eager to give back and share his own journey. The quilting circles grew, weaving a tapestry of compassion and resilience throughout the community. Mrs. Grace's simple act had sparked a movement, proving how love and kindness stitched together could transform lives. Their shared mission was far from over, many more stories awaited to be sewn. At one quilting circle, a woman named Maria shared how receiving a quilt had helped her survive a difficult winter. Her emotional storytelling inspired others to open their hearts and hands, sewing not just quilts but bonds of empathy and hope. The group began partnering with local shelters and hospitals, extending their reach and impact. David became a vocal advocate, sharing his story to encourage others facing hardships. The quilting circles transformed into a vibrant community network, united by shared experiences and a commitment to kindness. Mrs. Grace marveled at how a simple quilt had become a powerful symbol of love and survival. Together, they continued weaving stories and warmth, one stitch at a time. During a community event, Maria presented a quilt made by the group, each patch representing a story of courage and resilience. The quilt became a symbol of collective strength and the healing power of emotional storytelling. Mrs. Grace felt a profound sense of fulfillment, knowing her work inspired hope and connection far beyond her own family. David shared his gratitude, recognizing the quilt's role in his recovery and reunion with loved ones. The quilting circles pledged to continue their mission, weaving warmth and compassion into every creation. Their journey was a testament to the transformative power of kindness, stitched together through shared stories and care. Together, they nurtured a legacy of love, resilience, and community that would endure for generations. The quilting circles inspired local schools to introduce programs teaching students the art of quilting alongside lessons in emotional storytelling. Young people learned to sew patches symbolizing their own experiences and hopes, creating quilts that told powerful stories. These quilts were displayed in community centers, sparking conversations about resilience, empathy, and healing. Mrs. Grace and David visited schools to share their journey, encouraging youth to embrace vulnerability and kindness. The initiative bridged generations, fostering connections between students and seniors through shared creativity. Communities embraced the movement, recognizing the profound impact of combining craft with emotional storytelling. Their collective effort was stitching a vibrant tapestry of hope and unity across the region. During a school exhibition, a student named Emily shared her quilt patch story about overcoming fear and finding strength. Her emotional storytelling touched teachers, parents, and peers, inspiring many to reflect on their own journeys. The exhibition became an annual event, celebrating resilience and connection through shared stories and creative expression. Mrs. Grace and David supported the growing movement, providing mentorship and resources to students. Local media covered the event, amplifying the message of hope and empathy woven into each quilt. The community's commitment to emotional storytelling and kindness grew stronger, inspiring new initiatives and collaborations. Together, they nurtured a culture of healing, connection, and growth, one patch and one story at a time. At the closing ceremony of the school exhibition, Emily's quilt patch was unveiled, symbolizing courage and hope. The audience was moved, their applause echoing the power of emotional storytelling and shared resilience. Mrs. Grace felt a deep sense of pride, witnessing how her quilting circles had sparked a movement inspiring youth and adults alike. David spoke about the healing journey, emphasizing how kindness and connection could transform lives. The event solidified the community's commitment to nurturing stories of hope and empathy. As new quilts were planned and new stories awaited, the legacy of warmth and compassion continued to grow. Their journey was far from over, a tapestry of lives woven together through love and storytelling. Building on the success of the quilting and storytelling initiatives, Mrs. Grace and David partnered with local shelters to create warmth kits. Each kit included a handmade quilt, essential supplies, and a booklet sharing stories of hope and survival from community members. Volunteers delivered these kits to those facing harsh winter conditions, spreading comfort and compassion. The project brought together diverse groups, seniors, youth, and service workers, united by a shared mission of kindness. Mrs. Grace marveled at how quilts had become more than blankets, they were vessels of emotional storytelling and healing. The warmth kit symbolized a community wrapped in care, resilience, and love. Together, they continued weaving a network of support, one story and one stitch at a time. One winter evening, a recipient of a warmth kit named Samuel shared his story at a community gathering. His emotional storytelling about overcoming adversity moved everyone, inspiring new volunteers and donors. Samuel's gratitude and resilience symbolized the impact of kindness sewn into every quilt and kit. The Warmth Kit project expanded, partnering with hospitals and outreach programs to reach more people in need. Mrs. Grace and David continued to lead with humility and passion, nurturing the growing movement of compassion. The community's heart grew larger, wrapped in stories of survival, hope, and connection. Together, they stitched a future where no one would face the cold alone. At a winter celebration, Samuel thanked Mrs. Grace and the volunteers, sharing how the warmth kit saved his life during a harsh night. His story became a beacon of hope, illuminating the profound impact of emotional storytelling and community care. Mrs. Grace felt a deep sense of fulfillment, witnessing lives transformed through kindness and shared narratives. Volunteers pledged to continue their work, ensuring warmth and compassion reached every corner of the city. The quilts and stories formed a tapestry of resilience, binding a community together through empathy. As the celebration ended, hearts were full of gratitude and determination to nurture hope and healing. Together, they embraced a future bright with connection and love. Inspired by the success of the Warmth Kits, Mrs. Grace and David initiated a Quilts of Courage campaign. The campaign invited community members to create quilts that celebrated stories of resilience and survival. Local artists and storytellers joined, weaving creative expressions into the fabric of each quilt. The campaign fostered a sense of pride and unity, turning personal struggles into collective strength. Schools and community centers hosted quilting workshops, blending art with emotional storytelling. Mrs. Grace saw the movement grow beyond warmth. It became a celebration of hope and healing. Together, they crafted a legacy sown with courage, compassion, and connection. During a Quilts of Courage event, a young woman named Clara shared her story of overcoming addiction and finding hope through the campaign. Her emotional storytelling inspired attendees, creating a ripple effect of healing and empowerment. Clara's quilt became a centerpiece, symbolizing transformation and resilience. The campaign attracted widespread support, with donations and volunteers expanding its reach. Mrs. Grace and David partnered with recovery centers to integrate quilting and storytelling into healing programs. Together, they nurtured a growing movement of kindness and strength. Their shared mission continued to stitch together lives, one quilt and one story at a time. At a community gala, Clara's quilt was unveiled, each patch telling a story of struggle and triumph. The audience was moved, their applause reflecting the power of emotional storytelling and collective healing. Mrs. Grace felt a profound sense of pride, witnessing how her vision had blossomed into a movement inspiring countless lives. David spoke about the transformative power of kindness, connection, and shared stories. The gala marked a milestone in their journey, reaffirming a commitment to nurture hope and resilience. As new quilts were planned and new stories awaited, the community's tapestry of compassion and strength grew ever richer. Together, they embraced a future woven with love, courage, and connection. The Quilts of Courage campaign attracted attention from neighboring towns, inspiring similar initiatives to blend storytelling and community care. Mrs. Grace and David traveled to share their experience, encouraging others to use emotional storytelling to foster healing. Workshops combined quilting, narrative therapy, and art, creating safe spaces for expression and connection. The movement grew into a regional network, uniting diverse communities through shared stories and compassion. Mrs. Grace marveled at how a simple stitch had sparked a wave of kindness crossing city lines. Together, they sowed seeds of hope and resilience, weaving a legacy that would endure for generations. At a regional gathering, Mrs. Grace met Elijah, a therapist using storytelling and crafts to aid trauma recovery. Inspired by Mrs. Grace's work, Elijah collaborated to integrate quilting and narrative therapy, reaching more individuals. Their partnership created healing spaces where stories and creativity nurtured resilience and connection. Communities embraced this holistic approach, blending emotional storytelling with art and care. Mrs. Grace witnessed the profound impact of their efforts, seeing lives transformed by empathy and kindness. Together, they nurtured a movement rooted in compassion, weaving stories of hope across generations. At a healing retreat, Elijah shared stories of individuals transformed by quilting and emotional storytelling. Participants expressed gratitude, inspired by the resilience born from these shared experiences. Mrs. Grace felt humbled, witnessing how her quilting had sparked a movement of compassion and healing. Their collaboration blossomed into a beacon of hope, nurturing communities across the region. Together, they pledged to continue cultivating stories and connection, weaving a legacy of empathy and strength. As voices rose in unity, the future shone bright with promise, stories yet to be told and lives ready to be healed. The quilting movement gained national attention, with Mrs. Grace invited to share her story on a popular talk show. Her message of emotional storytelling and healing resonated with audiences across the country. Inspired communities began launching similar campaigns, fostering connection and hope nationwide. Media coverage amplified the movement, bringing new voices and stories to the forefront. Mrs. Grace partnered with organizations to provide resources and training, ensuring the campaign's sustainability and growth. Together, they nurtured a growing network of empathy, reminding the world of storytelling's power to unite and heal. At a national conference, Mrs. Grace met Nora, a podcast host dedicated to sharing healing stories through digital platforms. Inspired by Mrs. Grace's journey, Nora proposed a collaboration to expand emotional storytelling via podcasts and social media. Their partnership connected diverse audiences, fostering empathy and community through shared narratives. Together, they launched a series showcasing stories of resilience, kindness, and hope from across the country. The initiative bridged cultural and geographic divides, proving storytelling's universal power. Mrs. Grace and Nora championed a future where every voice could be heard and valued. At a virtual storytelling gala, Mrs. Grace and Nora unveiled a digital quilt of stories gathered from across the nation. The event celebrated resilience, unity, and the healing power of emotional storytelling across diverse cultures and communities. Attendees shared how the movement inspired them to embrace vulnerability and connection in their own lives. Mrs. Grace reflected on the journey, from sewing quilts to weaving a national tapestry of voices united in empathy. The gala became a beacon of hope, reminding all that stories transcend borders and build bridges of understanding. As applause echoed online, Mrs. Grace felt profound gratitude, for every story told and every heart touched. The final chapter began with Mrs. Grace invited to deliver a keynote speech at a national conference on emotional storytelling and community healing. She shared how sewing quilts for those in need had blossomed into a movement transforming lives and communities. Her message emphasized the strength found in vulnerability and the power of shared stories to unite and heal. Leaders from diverse fields committed to fostering spaces for emotional storytelling, recognizing its profound impact. Mrs. Grace felt a deep sense of fulfillment, knowing her simple act had inspired change far beyond her hometown. The story concluded with a heartfelt call to action, encouraging everyone to share their stories and nurture connections that foster hope and resilience. Following the conference, Mrs. Grace connected with leaders nationwide, sharing insights on nurturing emotional storytelling for healing. Communities launched workshops and programs inspired by her journey, creating safe spaces for voices to be heard and hearts to connect. The movement grew into a beacon of hope, bridging divides and promoting empathy across diverse populations. Mrs. Grace marveled at how a simple quilt had sparked a nationwide wave of compassion and resilience. Together, they committed to sustaining the momentum, ensuring emotional storytelling remains a source of strength for future generations. The legacy of one woman's sewing blossomed into a chorus of stories, weaving a tapestry of healing and connection. As the movement flourished, Mrs. Grace stood surrounded by voices united through emotional storytelling, each sharing hope and healing. Her journey proved that a simple stitch can weave a powerful bond of compassion across communities. If this story touched your heart, we invite you to share your own story or support local initiatives that foster kindness and connection. Every voice matters, and every act of love has the power to heal and inspire. Join us in spreading emotional storytelling, one quilt, one story, one heart at a time. Together, we can create a world where no one feels forgotten, and every story is cherished.